Welcome everyone to Horror After Midnight, brought to you by Slinky's Liquor Pawn and Video. And we have an incredible guest tonight, Mick Strawn, the legend.
Yeah.
Legend in my own mind.
Oh man, you have worked on so many films that I think we all admire very much, and we can't thank you enough for coming and hanging out with us, man. Really.
Oh, shucks.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I wanted to say, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was actually the first film I ever watched ever. That was a horror film. I was like 5.
Yeah.
Really?
Chris dotes or Casey dotes on that all the time, man. He's like Nightmare 3. So
Part 4 is actually my favorite.
Oh, now you know what? Now I tell you the truth is, I like 4 myself, and it has a certain brainless quality to it that is just unfolds in front of you, right? You know, I mean, the thing is Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is kind of the cerebral one, you know. I mean, it kind of makes you you think, and because I designed both of them, they both have the same look to them and the same feel as you're going from the one to the other, and it's like, to me, by the time you got to the 4, you were forgetting about. It's just Freddy. That describes it best.
Yeah, there's a aesthetic the two of those have where they it's not that they look like the same film, but they flow into each other real easy.
You know, I had the thing is, I was the first one to take to try and take the bulk of them out of working on the streets. You know, there were 3 things that we did on Nightmare on Elm Street 3 that really set it aside, because you have to think about the business of a horror film back then. If you had a horror film, you had and it was popular, then you got this much money and it was this popular, right? And then when you made number 2, it was that popular. You know what I'm saying? And it made that much money. And then on, it was you know, reducing returns as you went down the road.
Yeah, so much was allotted. Yeah.
Right. And Bob Shea wanted to completely change that. And we had lots of meetings about it at the beginning, and we kind of came up with a 3-way approach. We were having what I call a Superman problem. And you know what the Superman problem is here? The Superman problem is this: is what are you going to do to the guy that can do anything, right? You know, so when you moved into the Freddy world, the thing is everybody eventually has to sleep, and then they're in his world, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing to do was Wes Craven's thing. He pulled in. He had the idea of making it so that as they could pull each other into their dreams, and then make a group, and the group can go up against Freddy, and it helps with the Superman problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was one. The group, it's the group of kids together, and boy, how many times has that been duplicated, right?
Yeah.
So then the next is we kind of let Freddy off the chain. In other words, we were using Freddy kind of like everybody used everybody in a rubber mask, right? And the fact is that Freddy's Robert Englund's talent was so much higher than that, right? So we had the idea that we were going to kind of make him a little bit of a stand-up comedian, so that we could lean towards Robert's strength, because Robert's a funny guy and he's smart, and he knows how to do those moves that nobody else can do, you know? I mean, I got to tell you, the introduction of him on Nightmare on Elm Street 4, when you're coming up the shadow out in the junkyard.
In the junkyard, yeah.
And that shot of going up I was talking to the editor when I wrote the book about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 called Behind the Screams. Mm-hmm. I was talking to the editor, and he says, I never understood. I didn't understand why because we were jerking around at the very beginning of Nightmare on Elm Street 4, trying to bring Freddy back because he was holding out, the typical thing. He was holding out for more money. And Bob was saying, I'll go and I'll get anybody to fill your shoes. Right. And the editor of the film was going, well, he was thinking, when I'm interviewing, he's going, I don't know why was Robert so important? I don't even understand that. And he says, and then we settled it, and the dailies came in from that was the first day of filming. That first day of filming at the junkyard, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He says, in that one shot, when that one shot came in, he went, oh yeah, now I totally get it. That's a real actor,
mm-hmm.
And
he's classically trained, isn't he? Like he's the real deal. Yeah.
So. Plus he's smart. He's just smart as a whip. I mean, he's the nicest guy, and his mouth is probably going to be still moving long after he dies, and they put him in the ground. That guy can talk. Oh my God.
He seems so cool. Like he really
is so cool. He is such a nice guy. I remember I was walking back off of the stage of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 one time, and we're just it's the end of the day, and God, we've both been there like forever, and he's ripping off pieces of the mask. I mean, I think at that point it was a 9-piece, right? And so he's ripping off pieces and dropping them, right, as he goes along. And I'm talking to him. And then when we get up to the trailer, I say something about, look at you all being a litterer. And he said, oh, really? You think so? Look back. And we did. And I did. I'm not kidding. I look back. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. So what it is that there's these kids. I mean, we had security, quote unquote. We had security, but these kids would be like literally laying underneath the trailers, right?
Wow, that's funny.
And he just waiting for him all day long to just drop a piece of that, and they run out and grab them and run back in.
Wow.
So it's like, whoa.
Oh man.
But man, that guy has such a great sense of humor. I mean, I did a book called Behind the Screams, and it's a book about Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I really like the book, but it has an interview between me and Robert in it that is just hilarious. I mean, the places that the guy goes, and his mind is working 900 miles an hour. And it's such a great interview. Wow.
Now on set, does he try to get other actors to break character, or like is he like a jokester kind of on set? Or I always wondered that.
He's just always talking, It really is. And as far as people have different ways of coping with long hours and stuff like that, and he literally talks to keep his energy up. So even if you see him at a con, he's exactly the same way. He's still talking all the time. And he's so smart and talking about everything. And that's how he keeps his energy. Are we being strafed? Oh my God, that's a B-29.
I want to ask one question. I want to ask one question, and I'm going to cut the guys loose because I know they got questions for days for you, sir.
Okay.
You are a production designer, okay?
Yes.
And for those that don't know what that is, would you kind of, maybe explain a little bit about what it is you did?
Okay, production design and art direction is all the rest of that stuff. That you're seeing in the
frame.
In the frame, right? Yeah. The director kind of deals with the people. That's his focus, and the lighting is the DP, and the production design is virtually everything else. A production designer directly underneath me would be an art director, and my art director would specifically deal with things like he'd build the sets according to my drawings or instructions or whatever, and he would deal with the painting, deal with the machinations of what's going to be on the set and stuff, and with the set decorators and all the rest of that, and all just to please me, just to make me happy, make it so that when I walked in and I went, say, this is pretty good, or say, we need to do this again.
So you're the reason everything looks so cool. That's amazing. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's why I personally think that production designers and art directors should get their due out there.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example of something I'll bet you didn't think was art directed and you didn't know it was the Junkyard, because there's nowhere, especially in California. Especially in California.
Well, it's very pretty when you look at it. Like it's this massive. It's almost like it's its own character when you're looking at it.
And it's actually laid out in a particular pattern. And that pattern, as you come up, that pattern starts to become the center of a model. That's then the center of a matte painting. That's then the center of the world in the end. And I always have a great story, because it's all got to be my point of view, right? And I'll give you a story about that. Is when I built a model, a very specific model. You see a picture of it in my book. I built a model, and it has to be laid out just so. And then I turned it over to the guys that were building it, and they were all working underneath me. And we worked for 6 weeks stacking cars. Basically what we did is we went and bought 300 cars.
Oh man. Wow.
And then we tore down a fence between a vacant lot and the place that we bought the cars from. Got a whole bunch of tractors in and started to stack them. And we started with the crack in the earth. And the idea is we had to put the crack in the earth in first, because that's actually there.
And then go out,
and then build up from there. And when we got about halfway done, the crack in the earth means the ground was not very settled. It's because most dumps are kind of like built on old dumps. So the ground shifted and ate the crack in the earth, and we had to go in and we had to dig that one up. And it was flat like this, and then put one that was steel with big 4-inch heavy duty tube, big frame, and put it in the ground. And oh man, it was so much work. And those cars were eight cars high, and they were all cabled together, and they're only 1 car thick. The reason that they're 1 car thick is because we're lighting through them.
Yes.
So you have to think of it as that essentially. You have to think of it as that's an enormous gobo that's put in front of a light. And a gobo is something to give light shape, right?
Yeah.
So that's why when you see the lights coming through it has this great kind of the lights streaming through like that, is because there isn't like another row of cars back behind there.
It looks so cool.
It looks so cool that way, right? Which, by the way, that was always my when people come and say, "Well, why did you do da?" This is because it looks cool.
See, there you go.
Right?
That's the bottom line, man.
I always figured it this way: if it didn't knock my socks off, then we were going to change it.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
But that's what a production. Here's the thing: is so we did that scene where he's spinning and going, "Freddy's back!" Right? And that was the optical, and it was going to be a miniature. And so the model, halfway through building it, once we knew what the pattern was going to be, we took the model and gave it to the guys at I can't remember, DreamWorks. And DreamWorks then took my model and built the on-camera version of it in the same pattern. And then so they come back to us with the extension of that shot after 2 weeks. And it's like Freddy's back, duh! and it circles a couple of times and then it just stops. And it looks like maybe it's about the size of a football field. Now,
it looks immense. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, hold on, because we aren't done with this story yet. So it looks about the size of a football field, and I call him up, and I call him up, and I go, dude, what part? I had made storyboards that showed it as the world, right? I mean, literally as a world. And I said, guys, you're killing me here. I mean, this is not the world that's a wrecking car. This is very far up. Okay. I wasn't looking for very far up. I could do very far up with a crane.
You're not knocking my socks off here,
Yeah,
fellas.
you're not knocking my socks off. So we got into an argument, and he says, but I don't have any money left. And I go, well, you know what? I'll give you 15 grand. And I want it to look like a world, right? And so 2 weeks later, it comes back again, and everybody goes, well, wow, yeah, that's in. And we're sitting in the middle of the meeting, and it comes up like probably so that it looks like it's a mile and a half wide, right? And everybody's clapping and go, dude, wait a minute. Where's my world? I want a world. I want to see a world. And the guy turns to me and he goes like this. He goes, Mick. And here's the thing. Optical people, and it's true to today, optical people always treat you like you're an idiot, right? Because you deal with the real thing, but we deal with math and screw you. You guys. So I said, okay, so what's the problem? He says, here's the thing. If you started coming out like this and you kept going at the speed that you're going there, it would take you like 4 or 5 hours to get to the point that you could actually see the world. I went, wait a minute. Wait. You're trying to use physics?
He's using science on you.
You're using science on me? Are you out of your fucking mind? I swear to God, I was like, really? And he's with his guys, and they're all like, oh yeah, science. I was like, you fucking guys are out of your fucking minds. Listen, take your goddamn science. I'm going to give you $15,000 one more time, and boy, when you bring it back, it better look like a goddamn world. And somehow or other, they left the science out, and they actually made it look like a world.
Oh man, that's great.
Science. What the fuck?
That's awesome.
Really?
Oh, that was a good one.
So that's a case of where art kind of kicks science's ass in that case. But
awesome.
as well it should occasionally.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, have at it, guys.
So does that give you an idea of what a production designer does? That's to step in every once in a while and go, science! Ah!
That's awesome. Great stuff. Oh man.
So
yeah.
it was you who designed Patricia Arquette's room, right?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, her whole house, like her mom's house, when they're in the living room and her room, it don't feel like a real room, because I was watching last night. It felt like a room that you would see in a dream.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I got from it.
Especially when she's coming up to the mirror.
Yes.
And she's pulling. Yeah. It's funny, and part of that is that my partner at the time was my sister, and my sister was she kind of looked over set dressing stuff, and she's not a very real person. She wasn't a very real person. I would look at the set dresser and I'd go, yeah, okay. Good thing it's a horror film.
That's awesome. That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
So yeah, it's funny. I'll tell you about a sequence that exists that you guys didn't know existed.
Ooh.
If you get my book, it's in the book, but I'll explain it to you. I think that you really dig it. So there was a point where Tuesday night, she comes out in a dream down the stairs of her house, and I think that she walks out of the house and is immediately in the Freddy house, right?
Mhm.
And Freddy house is upside down because she went to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Mom, you killed me, right? And she goes to sleep, and the room spins around. She wakes up in the Freddy house. Well, that wasn't the way that started out, and we filmed it. And I know that it doesn't exist anymore, but yep. Here's what the film was. The scene was this: we literally built the Nightmare on Elm Street house. We built our own version of it.
Mhm.
That was the facade for Nightmare on Elm Street 4. It wasn't the Elm Street house. Okay.
Okay.
So you could tell because the lighting was the same way. The light seemed like it came from inside of it, right? And streamed out, right? Can't do that in a house. Just saying. So we had our own version of it. And the reason that we had done that originally was for this particular sequence. We had another house facade that moved right in front of it like this. Boop, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
it was her house, right? It was Tuesday night's house, right? And what we did was, here's the scene. She wakes up, and we catch her with one camera coming down the stairs and out onto the front. What we do is we catch her coming because she hears a sound. We see her out on the front porch, right?
Yeah.
When we do, she comes out on the porch and she's looking around out into the yard, and the cameras come up and gone up over her head.
Mhm.
And that's her house. And in the meantime, as the camera goes up like this, we pull the facade away
Like
this,
a curtain.
like a curtain. Only a curtain that weighed like 3 or 4
Yeah.
tons, supported by 2 cranes. That kind of curtain. Pulled it like this. The camera slams down. Is looking at her. Camera slams down like this. Is looking up, and she looks behind her. Now she looks behind her as the camera's down low. Same shot. And she sees the Elm Street house. She starts to run away from it with the camera tracking in front of her like this. And she goes out and starts to run and runs and runs, and then runs right through the front door of the Elm Street house that's in a hallway put all the way across the street.
Wow.
And it's open, and then the Elm Street door slams down like this. And that was all one shot.
That's yeah. One take, right? Like,
It was one take, one take. No, it wasn't one take. It was. We did it all night long. We literally did that all night long. Finally got the shot probably 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man.
Finally got it. Now, here's the thing. 2 weeks later, the editor comes by and says we kind of switched the idea of who's going to survive and make it through the film, because we only had a 40-page outline when we started filming, right? And Tuesday night wasn't the actress that Lisa Wilcox was.
Gotcha.
She didn't have the strength that Lisa Wilcox had, right? So there was a switch in who was going to end the movie. And the editor, just to really piss me off, came out with the piece of film and laid it on my desk. He says, "There's your shot." I had to make all that stuff. He goes, "There's the shot." That one that really that you just busted your ass for like 6 weeks is right there. It's like,
Yeah, I didn't feel too bad when Tuesday night was killed off. Honestly.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
This isn't gonna get out, is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
This is just between us guys.
Yeah. It's all good.
Okay. Okay.
Oh wow, that's funny.
So anyway, there you go. So that's all my
That's
secrets
awesome.
are coming out.
Hey, pour them out, man.
I have
Oh, we love hearing this stuff, man.
Yeah,
Like,
man,
this is great. This is great.
so it's his turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know how I've got the works of this show.
Oh yeah.
I could replace one of you guys. Oh, except for I'm in this little window.
I was going to ask, one of my favorite parts of the whole film is the sleepwalking death. How did that scene get done?
The puppeting.
The marionette, right? Yeah. Okay.
The puppeting one. Oh God. So basically it's him laying here and his arms are all made up and thickened. Okay. And literally it's veins that cut, we got we sharpened up some of the claws so that he could cut them, and then it just pulls it out, right? And that's makeup effects. And then makeup effects literally does it going down the hall, him being held like this, going down the hall is literally, we had a rig that was following that had an arm that went over the top and it was taken out of the shot, so literally like puppeting, pucking up over his head. And then we shot, and then we went around and shot. But I have to tell you, the best story behind that was that when it was filmed in little tiny pieces all over the place, right? So the animator that did that, the makeup effects guy that we did the setup for it, and then him laying in the bed, that was in his shop. We just went over and we laid a bed in his shop and we did, the close-ups of the arm ripping up, and he did the stop motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was stop claymation. Basically, that was claymation of Freddy, and Freddy gets down and jumps to the ground. Once he jumps to the ground, that's the end of the claymation, and then they do an optical of him getting big.
Yeah.
And then we have, and then we see the close-ups of his arms with him, basically his head here with a fake torso and arms going down like this. His arms are down below and the fake arms are out here. And they filmed that in his shop, right? And did the pull up. And then we went to the location and did the, puppeting bit, as he's puppeting down the hall. And I have to tell you something. They said, Rachel Talle comes up and says, I really want you to see this sequence. We're going to go down and we're going to check out that sequence. They just put a rough together of Philip, being puppeted. So, oh man, I'd love to see that. And so we did. We went down, at that time, you literally had to go down to one of the labs, because the labs are the ones that had all the rooms that they could show, works in progress. Yeah, the daily works in progress. And they showed us that. And I swear to God, man, it was the full on, before they had started editing or anything like that. It was the full pull, slice, the legs, the pull. Oh, dude, I'm telling you, it was so too much. It was so.
It still holds up today. Like that's an amazing sequence to watch.
It is an amazing. I think it's. Yeah, it's obviously the best death that's in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 by far. Now, this is a little bit my fault. I saw these shows to be journeys more than anything else, to be adventures, and both of them, I saw them as being adventures into like a different world, more like Lord of the Rings. I mean, seriously, when you think about it, in fact, I told everybody, I said, look, what I'm doing is I'm doing a carnival here. You know, I want you to think of, as soon as we get to stage, and we got to that was the third thing. The third thing was that I was going to take and make sure that we were all on stage, right? As much as possible. The first two, 99% of what they did was either had one set on the stage, you know, the revolving bed, right?
Yeah.
They had one stage, they had one stage shot, and then the rest of it was on a location, right? And I said, nah, we're not doing it that way. We're going to build everything because we want to have control of everything. We want to make these dreams right, you know? And I began to see them as journeys like you know, just like Return of the Rings, you know, as soon as they go, to me, as soon as they went into the dreams, they were in a journey. And I want the journey to be amazingly impossible and amazing, you know? So you have that, you know, the door that's hanging in the middle of nowhere. And then we go down that staircase, you know, the circular staircase.
Yeah.
Which was made and only 20 feet high.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was in forced perspective.
Forced perspective, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, that was a bitch to build and design. But it was only 20 feet high, and it looks like it's 60 or 70 or 100.
Yeah.
It's eternal. Yeah. So that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to I think
You
that
guys succeeded. You guys,
totally. I mean, and I think that it was even more severe on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. You know, the journey aspect of it.
Wow. Love it.
Yeah, it's good.
That karate scene with the bed sheets, man. Crack me up.
That's awesome. All right.
There's another scene I wanted to ask you about, the TV room scene. The one with Freddy, welcome to primetime, bitch. Do you have any story behind that?
Well, we built that with Peter Chesney, and Peter Chesney is a good friend of mine, you know, and we built the room, and the great stories behind that were just the making of it was just like it itself, you know. It was just so cool. It was just such a great idea, and you know, the arms were supposed to swing and everything out like this, and to tell you the truth is as much as Peter wanted everything to work, you know, Peter's kind of a lab guy, you know, so he'd want to control over here, and he would want it radio controlled and stuff like that. And I think in the end, we finally wound up, you know, attaching it to her shoulders and gluing it, and then having her just thrust her head into the middle of the TV.
I mean, it's such an iconic kill, man. Like everybody, you know,
Lawrence Fishburne just runs in and like, what the fuck happened?
Well, you know, but the most fun we had all together was with the snake. And the Freddy snake was hilarious. I mean,
man, I heard some stories about that.
Yeah.
Oh God, you know, it came in. Yeah, you like to think to yourself that if you put veins and you know, then rough up and you make it look like a snake and stuff, and then, you know, when they asked, well, what color should it be? We all went, well, of course it should look like Freddy's face. Well, yeah, but maybe then we're just making an enormous dick.
I look like a snake.
No.
And that's what it wound up, but that's what it wound up being. And all of a sudden the producers realized when it got to stage that it was an enormous dick. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, this is what we've been talking about all along. And
They've made toys of that cracks me up when I've seen them.
Right, right.
Oh, it's like green dick. Like,
oh, great thing. Yeah, but then we painted it green. You have to understand it was the color of Freddy's mask when it got to stage.
oh Lord.
Think
Oh,
about that one for a sec. Right?
I kind of
And
know.
all, yeah. Well, you've seen it before, I'm sure. Maybe smaller versions of it, maybe bigger. I don't know. Your personal life,
that's funny.
wholly
That's
different
good.
thing. But all of a sudden it was a panic, and everybody had to paint it. And we're all standing around trying to pick the color. I was like, green.
Green.
So-
That's funny. That's great.
and there's all kinds of pictures out there. I think there's a video out there on somewhere on YouTube of them frantically painting it green. And you can see it, what it looks like. It's in Freddy skin mode, because it's like, oh yeah, I think, yeah.
Great. That's great. Oh man. All right. This one, it's gonna get off of Freddy for just a second, but I know you and Greg Nicotero designed Leatherface's mask for
Right.
Texas 3.
Right.
Like, was that something that you were kind of like, oh shit, I have to design this mask, or were you like, I got this? Like,
No, I sort of got Greg Nicotero did it, but then he got really busy. Anytime that you went down to I went down to a shop, and the shop was like super weird because absolutely everywhere, every square inch of it had a buffalo somewhere.
a buffalo, like
A full-scale buffalo.
holy shit. All right, man.
Think about it. Think about what was shooting right then.
Oh, was it it's Dances with Wolves, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
They
right.
made all, but they had a very small
the
shop.
pelts and stuff. That's right.
Yeah, and he built all of that. And so the thing is you had to walk in, you had to walk, you had to separate buffalo in order to get to like this one guy who's sitting here, doing the Freddy mask, and there's buffalo pieces and buffalo here, buffalo there, buffalo everywhere. In the parking lot there were buffalo, literally. Every spare, I mean, you had to park down the street because you weren't a buffalo.
Oh,
because
man.
you weren't a buffalo, right?
Yeah. Do you ever stop and like take in your surroundings and you're like, Jesus Christ, what the hell?
I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. So
Okay, cool.
Anyway, so we're like, I'm like, oh God, buffalo, and I get up here and I'm talking, and he's got the rubber mask, right? And it's unpainted, and I'm looking at it, and it just looked like a rubber mask, It kind of looked like some of the problems I had with number 2 were related to that kind of rubberish looking mask. And I said, you know what we're going to do this time? He goes, what? I said, give me the scissors. And I took the mask and I just cut it up right along. I cut it up and handed it back. And I say, now you sew it together and bring it to set. And that's what we wound up filming.
Wow. That's so, oh wow.
So that's why it out of all of them is kind of like more of a, kind of just a jagged hole and jagged eyes and shit like that.
It's just like kind of slapdashed, but it's cool looking though. Like it's
right.
really,
Well, the thing is I don't know if you saw the more recent Leatherface.
yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you I had so many problems with that one, but here's the number one problem I had is when you went into the barn, tell me that this didn't, you go into the barn, right? And there's all these sculptures hanging everywhere of like bones, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't it kind of look like the gift store on the corner? Right? You know what? It looked like one of those places down by the seaside where they take pieces of driftwood and they tie things around it and stuff and hang the drift up all the place. And I was like, wow, because everything was balanced and everything was, you know what I'm saying?
It didn't look like a
that
wood
was the weird
sculpt
thing about it. What it was is it was like, yeah, it's like all of a sudden Leatherface was getting very, very, very artsy and going, well, what I was looking for here was balance, you know, that kind of thing. And I did everything I could not to make that happen. I was like, look, it says that he makes these little sculptures. Is, you know what we mean by sculptures is we mean like half of a jawbone and a quarter of the rest of the skull, and you take a femur and you go bah! Right through it like that and wrap some twine around it. That's a sculpture for these guys, okay?
Yeah, some feathers.
And so I stand by my work because the other one looks a little bit too much like a boutique in West Hollywood.
That's too funny.
I'm just saying. I know that's just me, but come on.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, go ahead, guys. I got one more question, but I'm waiting for a little bit. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, he's got paper. Oh my God.
Yeah, a lot of them. Oh yeah, can you tell us like a story behind the scene in Nightmare 3 when Joey gets tongue tied to the bed?
Yeah, you know, Joey is the guy that you really like to torture a lot because that bed, you saw it. First of all, he was strung out over it right there in the room, right? Mm-hmm. And then when the floor falls away, then we had to put it up on its side like this and put an enormous blue screen behind it and then hang him on it up in the air for God knows how long. I mean, hours and hours and hours while the camera spun in to get that look, right? You know, and that was blue screen. And then we had to like have him down on the set, you know, where Freddy's hell set where he looks like he's going to, you know, tip down in there. That final shot was also on its side, you know, with him being cabled up and hanging up in the air. And oh my God, that guy just spent so long in harnesses and so long, you know, like strung up this way. There was one thing where we strung him over the pit and like a gel caught on fire and somebody said fire and everybody ran out of the set. and I came in and he's like struggling. I'm like, dude, it's like, I ran in. He's like, well, you leave the guy in there? And
I was going to ask if you left him there for lunch.
Yeah. And it was just a gel that was smoking, but it freaked all of us out and him a little bit. But then what was the other thing? Oh yeah. Come and get me on his chest. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
16 hours.
Ooh, wow.
16, and he was here like this, right? You know, in 16 hours and peeing in a bucket. And we had to keep going down and like, you know, it was like, oh, who gets to like run the bucket now? And
getting tortured on screen. You know, like
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, that was the thing. It was really funny because I was talking to him about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 in the book, and he's going, yeah, well, he says Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was a cakewalk compared to everything that we did that you guys did to me on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and he'd be looking at me like that, you know, like okay.
Nice.
Wow, that's too funny.
So, that's Joey.
The alley and wheelchair scene like looked really awesome. Like, how do you set that up?
The alley and the wheelchair. the alley is. It was one of the first things that we built, and it was the run to cover set. Whenever you're filming, you want to set. If you're filming outside, you want a set already set up on stage that doesn't require very many people, but you can do immediately that you have prepped, right? So that in case it rains, you can run to the set. So that was the first thing we set up. And all the way along the edge of the stage, we built in I think we built I did it in 3/4 scale, I think, because I wanted Freddy and her to feel big, and that it to not feel right, that hallway or that alley. And that just sat there for most of the filming. In fact, I slept in there often because we had not put doors on it. Yeah, you had to crack the side of one of those doors and swing it, right? One of the big metal doors, and you just swung it, and then you could get in, right? And I set up a cot in there, and I remember waking up, and I swear to God this happened. I woke up one time, and for a fraction, I had rolled off the cot, and I'm laying in the trash by the gutter.
Oh, man.
H all hell going, just for a second, I went, wow, I don't remember any of this. I don't know. Oh, man. Boy, I thought I'd remember something. But then I went, oh, yeah, no, I know where I'm. So that was that set. And I think in the end, it was like one of the last things we wound up shooting. And what did you mention? Oh, we just built a hallway virtually as far as we could. We just took flats and kept going and plastered it all and put ceilings on it all. And we put a lot of moss and stuff that like catch the light and make it look, weird and stuff down the sides and stuff. And we got that.
Wow.
I think it was about 120 feet long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Quick question. How many popsicle sticks did it take to build that model of the house?
I don't know. I didn't do it.
Okay. All right.
I had somebody else do that. Yeah.
You always wanted one of those.
Yeah. Well, I think there was there was no shortage of those or claws on the sets. Trust me.
Now, there's like a dummy glove that he uses sometimes, right? Like, is there a hero glove and then like a backup glove?
There's always several gloves. There's always backup. There's backup glove. Lose one. There's always an electric one that's set up. That's set up and wired so that it will spark. Something that nobody ever brings up is the scene in the sanitarium. Anybody remember it? Yeah. Everybody gets into the sanitarium and they're all in the padded room. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the claws come through. Mm-hmm. and we had all these steel claws that we made for that everywhere. So we made a whole bunch of runs, and every run had a steel claw, and we knew exactly where and how far they would come out. So they were really being ripped as the people were in there, and they had feathers in front, packed behind them, so that every time you ripped one, it let some more feathers into the room until it obliterated the camera.
Oh, that's so cool. So it's actually doing. Oh, that's neat. That's awesome.
Is that a steel your face on your arm?
Yes, it is.
Woohoo! My man. All right. Yeah, I used to go. I've probably seen about 40 shows. With Jerry. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
we used to go to shows all the time in LA, in different venues around LA. We would at the beginning of shows we would buy an old VW van, and drive it in. In fact, one of them I actually drove during Leatherface. Actually drove all the way to. We hit them at Berkeley, and then the next weekend we hit them at Cal Expo in Sacramento.
Wow!
And in driving back, my art director. It was a Sunday show. We drove all the way back. Van broke down several times, and so we wound up driving onto the set at 8:00 in the morning, and my art director was tripping on shrooms. He hadn't said anything in like 400 miles, right? And So we get out of the van, and there's Jeff Burr and the DP standing there, and they go, "Oh, good morning." And we walk up, and we're standing there, and he has not said anything to me. Brad hadn't said anything to me for hours, right?
He's enjoying the
Just
ride.
that's yeah, he was too much enjoying the ride. But it's really great. So I go, "Good morning." Jeff goes, "Good morning." Jim goes, "Good morning." And Brad goes like this.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Shit.
And then we just like kind of all four split and go different ways.
That's great. Oh man,
Awesome.
One of my favorite mornings ever.
I bet that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. The comic nerd in me wanted to ask you about Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I used to host a
wait,
comic
hold on.
show, so I have
Hold
to.
on.
I have to.
You're comic nerd now. I am hypothesizing. Now this was before any of the Marvel
Yes.
super
yes,
stuff,
that's
right? This is like one of the first. And you have to understand the ones that had been done before this
Yes,
were
yeah.
terrible. I
Yep.
mean, Spider-Man, Captain America,
The
right?
clear shield. Yeah, they're horrible. They're horrible. Yeah.
So we had no money. It was at Roger Corman's.
Yep.
Supposedly he had $1 million to do it. And if you knew Roger Corman, that means that he spent $15,000.
Yeah.
And I say this, I stand by the look that I got out of the sets, because all I had to go by was actually a comic book.
Yes. Exactly.
No. I went by comic books. And here's the funny thing is evidently, I crippled myself doing that.
Oh.
Because nobody did from then on, right?
Mhm.
Nothing that has gone on to be Marvel has looked anything like the comic books, right?
Yeah. To a point, absolutely. Yeah.
I think
The
I
dude
win.
spot on, man. Like, and even the thing looks like
The
the thing.
thing was amazing. But,
Yeah.
but look at this. I got the gun firing, the
Mr.
castle, Mr.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Even the Mole Man, quote unquote, which wasn't really a character but the Mole Man lair and stuff. And I wound up making all the miniatures myself and going down and filming them with Ole. In fact, I'm credited as second unit director because of that.
Well, all right. Okay. Sweet. But yeah, no, aesthetically, that movie is like ripped from the pages of a Marvel comic.
It really is. And that's why. And you know why? Is because that's what I was going by. I didn't have a movie in front of me to make it look, I better outdo that movie or outdo this movie, because every movie that I'd seen looked like pure shit. So I was like, I'll just go back and make it look like a comic book.
Man, they need to hire you for MCU, man.
Oh man, because I think what was up to that time, it was like Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk. And
right.
They made a couple made-for-TV movies with Thor that he looked like a truck driver, and Daredevil was just like a white ninja, and it's just terrible.
I mean,
terrible.
I mean, really, it wasn't very far above Christopher. It wasn't very far above Reeves, the original Reeves as Superman, right? The black and white TV one, right?
Yeah.
With the
George Reeves.
George Reeves, with the paunch and all the rest of that and everything.
He just jumps to a window, lands on a mattress, kind of thing.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
Playing on a bench for it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. But I thought that we did pretty good for all that,
Dr. Doom looked kick ass, man. Like he's so cool. Like, and they haven't been able to touch it since.
What I really like is that I later on I happened to see I can't think of his name, the guy who owns it. He was speaking at a con, and I happened to meet him, seeing, and he mentioned that he goes, still the best looking Fantastic Four that I've ever had done. The guy who owns Constantine, because Constantine is still the one that owns that character.
Neil Gaiman? Is that it?
Yeah, he's got that. Oh no,
Alan
he's got
Moore?
right. Somebody said it.
Alan Moore. Alan Moore.
Right. He's still got the rights to it. You know, any film that's been made of it has had his name attached to it, right? So he owned it. So anyway, it was. I thought it was pretty.
That's funny. Alan Moore said that. That's so
Yeah.
funny. But it is. It's, you know, I have Doctor Doom toys that's the basis of them. It looks like Doctor Doom. You know?
Right.
So,
It really does.
Man. Right on. That's so cool. That's so
It's
cool.
we didn't have time to kind of make a metal mouth for him that would actually work. So Culp actually figured out that he would use his fingers to talk, which is really funny. Yeah, you notice that whenever he starts talking, he starts moving his fingers.
Jazz hands and shit. Like, it's pretty funny.
That's right. It's pretty funny.
Man, that's great. Because the movie got out, it made the rounds at con, and people were buying bootlegs of it.
The great thing about it is, I swear to you, to this day, that if that film had actually been distributed by Corman with the combination of Constantine, which wasn't what it was made for in the first place, if it had been distributed, nobody would ever remember it or have seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But
he made it just to shelve it, you know, just because it was
right. But the fact that he grabbed it, the fact that Ole grabbed it and copied it, and he and I finished up as best that we could with it. That it's literally the only reason that so many people know that it exists. Otherwise, nobody would know that existed.
Oh man, yeah, people love it, man. People love it.
It's so fun. It actually is a pretty interesting little story. You know, I mean, the effects on it are so bad.
It's like a giant cardboard hand goes across the screen.
What I like is the Johnny Flame. You know, the Johnny. The thing is, you know, you would reject that particular optical effect. It would be rejected in the 60s. You know.
That's great. Oh man,
it's almost like somebody just took a lighter and Johnny Flame, flame on.
Adam West, how they're walking up the side of the building.
Right, exactly. It's that version of that. Right.
That's awesome. No, thank you so much. I had to. I was like, I got to ask him about the Corman Fantastic Four. Got to ask him. I warned everybody. I told him. I said, it's coming, guys. You know.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, it's great.
The boiler room in Nightmare 3 and I guess Nightmare 4 too, they both look really similar. How did that all come together?
The boiler room for number 3 is really small. I mean, it's not. There is very little boiler room stuff in it. That's basically like a basement, right? On Nightmare on Elm Street 4, it was much more extensive, but what we did is we took all of our pieces and put them into the Pasadena, the old Pasadena Electric Power Company, and that's where we got that depth of feel to it and stuff. Here, wait a minute, my cat's. Okay, what do you want? Go away. There's a big cat, isn't it?
Yeah, my cat Pamela is chilling right here. So yeah.
That thing doesn't chill anywhere. It weighs like 30 pounds. Yeah. So what we would do is we would have a lot of effects and stuff that we didn't know that we were going to do. So we took a lot of our own pieces and put them in the middle of actually the Pasadena, an actual huge boiler room. You know, that does not work for me. Here, say hello. Yeah, go away.
Now get out of here.
Get out of here. So we brought a lot of pieces back, and man, what pieces did we build specifically for the boiler room? when the flames come through the plaster.
Yeah.
That was an enormous, really weird rig that I designed that literally was like a swing, right?
Wow. Okay.
We put the flame bars in the swing, right, and the swing looked like the front of the furnace, right, and then there's several pieces of plaster that look like the concrete, right, and we just take it back like this, turn the gas up, and go bam,
Oh man.
and slam it into the plaster, and the plaster blows away like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what that look was. We had a boiler where Nancy jumps into that, and we had a huge pool of water behind that, so that she could jump into the water, and we lit it so that it looked like it was burning steel or molten steel and stuff, which is really an easy thing to do. Is if you put milk in the water, milk solids, then put a little smoke and we'll trick you immediately.
See, that's so cool. Well, it's so cool that you guys do shots like that, and like we watch them and we're like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah,
and then you're sitting here like, it's milk, like,
and that's what was cool back then. Nowadays a little bit of that magic is gone.
Oh yeah.
Because honestly, Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was kind of the last of the non
CGI.
Yeah, CGI work done.
Yeah.
I mean, from then on, CGI started to work its way in, and then by the end of the 90s and stuff, it had gone almost too far the other way, and for many years in the 2000s, it had gone the wrong way, and now it's kind of crawling its way back. Practical effects.
Well,
because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, when CGI is used properly, like, in my opinion, if it's used to accentuate something,
well,
then
yes,
it's
two reasons for it. Use it to accentuate something, or use it for within a sequence of practical effects to expand the look.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's what it does. But I mean, for instance, think of Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump was at the very earliest beginning of CGI effects, and yet it's just absolutely perfect.
Yep. To make Kennedy talk and make him say the
ping pong game.
Yeah.
The ping pong and stuff like that. The thing is that it's almost like it looked worse than that then for another 10 years. in just about everything that was done. I mean, I do give Frank Miller all kinds of credit for using it to combine CGI effect, to combine practical effects, and to speed up some, slow down others, and to bring in atmospherics and stuff like that. That it should just be a tool in the toolbox, and and unfortunately, here's part of the problem is practical effects take time on set, and they don't always work. Yeah, because of that, it's a producer's nightmare.
I bet.
Well, I mean, the thing is with CGI, you can say we're going to need this part of that shot, and then we'll do all the rest with CGI, and you're on, and it doesn't affect your schedule at all, right? So, it's taken a lot for producers to let, and they can change things too, So it is taken a lot for producers to give up that power, because all of a sudden they're kind of the effects people.
Yeah. Wait 2 weeks and it might not work. Like when they render a whole entire character in CGI, it's nah, it's not no good.
Well, I have to tell you something though. It is the last Planet of the Apes was pretty freaking amazing.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I mean, Circus, right? What's his name? Andy Serkis,
Andy
right?
Serkis. Yeah, Andy
Serkis.
Serkis. Yep.
Oh my God! I mean, his voice, along with him, they're
just
they're working off
the
of his
emoting he
facial.
can do.
Oh, Jesus!
That guy's incredible, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, and the thing is operating those masks is the thing. Robert Englund, he said acting with finesse with all that makeup on is incredibly difficult, and it is. I mean,
You have to kind of do it. You have to really set your eyebrow.
It's not even overdoing it as much as it is looking. You have to look and see what it's going to look like. It's like all of a sudden it doesn't look like what you think it looks like.
Yeah, very
you have
true.
to learn what all the ticks and stuff look like then, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you look at the guy who did it, Bill.
Oh, Skarsgård. Yeah. Yep,
Bill Skarsgård. Yeah. He's another guy who can really operate the masks. Ron Perl was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I always think of Tim Curry in Legend.
Yeah, right.
The Lord of Darkness.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's really really amazing.
But there's a reason that people that get good at that are the ones that keep doing it. You're talking about a handful of people that do it, and there's a reason for that because it's a whole thing.
Wow. Yeah, no, especially Ron Perlman, man.
Perlman, he was the king of. He really was.
Yeah, well, he was on Beauty and the Beast too, so he had to do.
Beauty and the Beast, and he had to do subtlety in that,
Yeah, because there was romance involved and stuff.
Yeah, boy, that's I got to hand it to him,
No, he's a great actor.
All right. Hellboy.
Of course.
Oh, Hellboy. I mean, if you don't think you can do it bad, have you seen the second Hellboy? Have you seen the one that they recently did?
Went to see it in the theater. It had a lot of shit going on. It was just a little too much. So, but especially the guy who plays Abe Sapien, the way he moves, it's just phenomenal. There's these guys that can emote through this,
right? Oh yeah. When you can't see them, and when the acting is obscured, and gotta hand it to them.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, all right, guys, keep it going. Or
question about Nightmare 4.
Sure.
The Craven. Whose idea was that?
The Craven was actually it was actually in the script.
In the script.
And I will say that my sister is the one that designed the interior of it. And I thought she did a great job.
Okay. I thought it was a real place.
Well, that particular spot is a real place, but the thing is that's a huge set. I would never fit into that place. Sits like 3 people.
Yeah. Fun.
And the bed sheets during the karate scene, was that you?
The what?
Bed sheets.
Bed sheets.
Bed sheets during the karate. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was props. I mean,
I think I heard I wasn't on the documentary that there was not enough money.
Right.
For that.
Oh yeah. Well. Yeah. For him to actually fight himself. Yeah. That whole secret. See, the thing is really Andre and Andres is a great friend of mine, and he was so good. He was so good that it's like nobody really worried about him. So which can be a problem, that can be a problem. It's he'll fight himself,
I love that scene.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah. I thought he did a really good job, but I got to tell you, his best scene was when he was dead. Hey, baby. You know what? When he sits up in the coffin, man, that to me that's golden right there.
Okay. I just love that movie.
There's just so many things in there. They're just so cool. So, well, we're about an hour and a half in.
Yeah, I was gonna start, maybe closing it down, and just what a great time! What a great time!
Did you guys have a good time? Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Dude,
Next
you
time
guys,
I watch these movies, you've actually altered my perspective on Nightmare 3 and 4 and Texas Chainsaw.
Okay.
Absolutely.
one more story. So just so that the next time you look at Nightmare on Elm Street 3, it's clear. Okay.
Okay, I'm down.
Now there's so many great stories about the snake, but there was a mechanical snake that was done with Peter Chesney, and I actually set it up with him in the shop before I got the job of the art direction for it. And what we had done is we basically we created a track that ran kind of a snake-like pattern across the floor, up the wall, and then across. And what it was an aluminum track, and we had a bunch of skateboard wheels with football helmets on them. They're all mounted each other like a snake, right? Yeah. And literally pulled it along. And there's a couple of great stories about it in general that someday we'll do. But the thing is it did a great job of the effect up the wall. But when they first cut it together, Peter and I went back and we were hanging at his shop and we were getting prepared to do the insert shots. And the editing called us up and said, we have a problem. We need a shot and we don't know what it looks like. Go, what? we need to see the snake. But here's the problem is they only had a wide shot of the beginning of the snake. Right. So, and what happened was it took so much energy to get the snake moving that as soon as it did, all that energy kind of broke the floor up and made it just float. Right. So if you look at it, especially on the wide shot, you notice that it just looks like a lot of the floor is just kind of like going like this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was what the beginning of the shot looked like. Right. And they were saying, we have a problem that all this floating and then it starts up the wall and you get the idea of it's a snake in the wall. Right. You say, that works. The rest of this doesn't. Is there anything that you can do as a shot that'll like clear this up? We got to thinking about it and we came up with together. I said, you know what? If we just have something coming straight towards us, and he goes, oh, he goes off into the corner and he ties a piece of rope to a Clorox bottle. I went across the street and I bought a $12 carpet. that was an oriental carpet, right? Maybe about 8 feet long. And we put the carpet down, put the rope underneath the carpet, put the Clorox bottle at the edge of the carpet, and then got the camera. We had this old 35 millimeter Mitchell, and we like trained it on the carpet, and then pulled the Clorox bottle underneath the carpet. All right, right towards the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's what you've got. You have $100,000 plus sequence, right? And the very first shot that you see of it is a picture of a Clorox bottle. And trust me when I say, now that you know that, you will never be able to unsee the Clorox. Because it looks exactly like somebody is pulling a Clorox bottle underneath a carpet. And that's the opening shot. That opens $120,000 shot.
That's so cool. Oh man, that's great.
So
that's great.
you can look for two things from it. It was my idea for the truck to hit nothing, and there is one problem in that shot that I'm also going to point out to you. is that it was done with a cable. Basically, we tied the truck. It was my idea. I was sitting in a meeting and had all these people around, all the main characters, because we were stuck in a dream loop, right?
Yeah.
And we're having this argument about how to get out of it. And I mean, at some point we didn't have a script. It wasn't written at that point. And we had like some really incredibly stupid thing about Freddy in an airplane and, in an airliner. And we were in the middle of a discussion that had been going on for 2 hours. There was an argument as to, is Freddy the pilot or the co-pilot, or is he the stewardess walking in?
Yeah.
My brain was just melting. I mean, just literally, and I mean, I really don't care if we just hit nothing. And there was a guy that was sitting next to me, and he goes, "Well, hitting nothing." He says, "What would that look like?" And I go, "Well, hitting nothing. We could hitting nothing would be like having an accident into your own bumper, right?" and the special effects guy turns to me and he goes, "I could do that." and right there, we sat down, we wrote that sequence, right? Now, here's the thing. Is basically what it is, and the whole idea of it is that bumper that was on the front of the truck, we just tied it to a tractor, to an enormous tractor, and then pulled it on a cable at 60 miles an hour to the end of the cable and put a camera there, right? Yeah. When we did, the weird thing, it was an amazing shot. I mean, it is an amazing shot. I mean, we were the first to do that, and we had no idea what it was going to look like at all. And the really weird thing that people don't even think about is that motorcycle in the back. We all had bets on what the motorcycle was going to do, and my bet was the motorcycle was going to break the straps and flip over the truck and just keep on going. And what it did is it broke the straps. It went all the way down on the end of its to the end of its play on the front, and then it sprang backwards and it flipped in a circle and landed right back in the truck. But here's the weird thing: is the cable snaps and goes back underneath the truck, and you can see it if you just hold your eyes on the shot and look. Instead of looking at the front of the truck, on the next shot, when you see the side of it, just look at the back, and you can see that huge 1-inch cable still there.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'm gonna watch it tonight again. Awesome. So yeah.
There you go. So wow. Those are my two mixed spoilers.
Thank you.
You learned this. Listen, I cannot thank you enough, man, for coming and hanging out with us. Like,
it's been fun.
Total joy. Joy.
Well, you guys have been great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, listen, can I tell you some of the stuff and things I got coming up?
Absolutely.
I'm always touring. I'm usually every 2 months I'm at some kind of thing signing my book, Behind the Screams. You can always get a hold of me, DM me, and I can get you a book. But I also have 2 podcasts. One's called Rabbit Hole. The other is called Dream Warrior Review, where I kind of go into some, weird stories or interview people or something.
On Nightmare on Elm Street, so it makes sense,
Yeah, you would think. Dream Warrior, Dream Warrior Review or Rabbit Hole, either one. They're both a lot of fun because hell, I'm a lot of fun. Anyway, but the other thing is that very soon, we're working on it right now, but we're taking some of my stories and we're getting together really bad animation to go with them.
I like where this is going. So
basically, it's pieces of interviews that I've done where I start to tell a story, and then all of a sudden it fades into bad animation of the illustrated story.
I'm sold. Totally sold.
Think if like right up here there was like a bad sort of like home movies version, of that story going up in the corner. That's
Killer
what it's going to.
Flash animation. Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be a little series, and we'll sell sell it on Apple for for maybe a buck a show, or a buck for a 20-minute. It'll have 3 stories in it, and I'll be narrating it, and it should be a lot of fun. Part of the reason for doing that really is that I want these stories to get out. I want people to know the weird magic that it was to film in the 80s and the 90s. It was really hard. It was really funny. It was really the weirdest time to be alive.
Wow. No, this was great, man. Listening to these stories. These were fantastic.
Yes.
Like, absolutely.
Well, I'm so glad you get a great time.
Oh man, the best.
Yes.
I would like to extend an open invitation to you anytime you would like to come on. If you have a project that's about to drop, hey, more than
Well,
welcome.
you know what? As we go along, when we come up with the first finished piece, maybe we'll run some pieces of it and stuff on your show. How about that?
Oh, would love it, man. Would
Yeah,
absolutely
we can discuss it. Okay, cool, guys.
Awesome.
It's been a blast.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much. Yes, this was
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
And
Yes.
always
Glad
look forward to what's coming out. I will contact you about a book though. Absolutely.
Okay, really good. Okay, guys, I guess I'm going to go over here. I'm going to tap on a button and make you all go away.
Yeah.
All right.
Kick us out.
See ya. I want my.
Later, man.
Take care, man. Take care.